to eat leaves? I don't want to go to big school if it's leaves. Is it twigs too? Said Phil. They could all three witter on in this vein for hours. They usually drove me mad, but now I seem to have turned into little Saint Catherine. I told Clover to get my sketchbook and ask each child in turn to list their all-time favourite foods, and then drew them all in a spiralling pattern across the page. So what's your favourite food, Katie? Elsie asked. Oh, a big salty packet of chips from a proper chippy, I said, and added without thinking, I love walking home with Cece after we've been to the shopping centre and sharing our chips. Then there was a little silence. Even Philly realised what I'd said. Clover quickly put her arm round me. You can still go to flower fields with Cece, she said. She could wheel you. I can wheel myself, I said. Yes, but it's too far, said Clover. Well, we could get a bus, I said. They stared at me. How could you do that? Cece couldn't pick you up in your wheelchair and lift you onto the bus, Katie, said Elsie. What if she dropped you? She wouldn't need to pick me up. Buses have ramps for people in wheelchairs, I said. Yeah, maybe I'll ask Cece if she wants to go with me this Saturday. Saturdays were a bit bleak. I couldn't get into the secret garden now, and the others shied away from it as if it were a terrible haunted place. The Littleys generally went off and played their bizarre pretend games. Their current favourite was a variation on zoos. Dory was the zookeeper, and he kept nagging Izzy to give him real food for all his exotic animals, though he mostly kept it to feed himself. Zebby and various teddies stood in for a full menagerie, and Philly was a real lion who roared himself hoarse. Clover and Elsie were too old for such nonsense, so they sat doing girly things, making bracelets and drawing fashion outfits and experimenting with Izzy's old lipsticks and eyeshadows. I wasn't interested in those sorts of activities either, so I was generally left to my own devices. I read, and that was absolutely fine, but it did feel a bit lonely. I felt wildly excited at the thought of going into town with Cece and wandering around the shops just like a normal person. I phoned her up on my mobile and asked her if she'd like to go with me straight after her dancing lesson. We could have lunch in McDonald's, on me. I've got heaps of pocket money because I haven't been able to go out to spend any of it. Oh God, my mouth's watering just at the thought of a Big Mac and fries, I said excitedly. Yes, that would be great, said Cece, but she sounded uncertain. So is your dad taking us? No, of course not. We'll go on our own. We're allowed now, I said. We'd been into town twice on our own during the summer term. Izzy and Mrs. Hall had reluctantly agreed, although they'd fussed terribly and made us promise not to talk to any strangers and only cross the road at the traffic lights as if we were tiny tots. Yes, I know we're allowed, but that was before, said Cece. Before what? I said sharply, though of course I knew what she meant. Well, you know, Cece said awkwardly. But hey, yes, let's. It'll be such fun. We could walk there and I could push your wheel